I want to talk to you for a little bit about outsourcing and how outsourcing can really help you increase your productivity. And so, what I mean by outsourcing is hiring other people to do steps in your writing business, even if it's something you yourself could do. So, let's start with the things that most of us can't do on our own. Most professional authors outsource their cover design and their editing. And I highly recommend that you do these things as well. Even the editors I work with who are professional editors, they still hire other people to edit their own writing. Okay, so absolutely hire a professional editor. And unless you've got crazy mad skills, hire a professional designer. We are indie authors, but that doesn't mean that we need to do everything on our own or that we should do everything on our own. Now, the tricky part comes in when we start talking about things that theoretically you can do on your own, but it still might not be the best option for you. So I want to talk about some of the tasks that you might decide to outsource. But before we dive into that, I want to talk about why you might want to outsource. And you're probably thinking, I'm just going to tell you that it'll save you time and you can use that time to write more books. And that's a small component of it. But I know for me, outsourcing, even more so than saving me time, it saves me mental energy. And that's an even more precious commodity than time. And so there are some things that, yes, I know how to do them. I know how to copy 100 Amazon ads and change the book and run those exact same ads for another book. I know how to do that. I also know it would take me maybe 90 minutes, let's say, to do that, maybe 2 hours. Okay, I have 2 hours, right? Like my husband and I watch movies every Friday night. I could sit down and get it done. But the mental energy it takes, I know my personality type, the more detail oriented the job is, the more mentally draining and creatively draining it feels for me. So, no, I'm not outsourcing a job like that so that I have 2 more hours so I could work on something else. I'm outsourcing that so that I don't have to exhaust my mental energy doing something that feels draining. So, the first thing I want you to do is think about jobs that you do in your writing business that really do feel draining to you. So, this might have to do with maybe the tech side of stuff or writing your blurbs. There is basically nothing that can't be outsourced. Now, I'm not saying you should outsource everything, but anything that can be outsourced, I think, is worth at least considering if it's a good time for you to do. Now, the biggest objection, of course, to outsourcing is I don't have the money to hire somebody to do this. And that might be the case at the beginning. But if you think about the fact that you can always earn more money, but you can never earn back your time or your mental energy, that's one way to help look at it. And sometimes we need to either spend money or time. There's nothing that is truly free, right? So even if you're creating all of your formats and your bulleting points and your chapter headings, and you're doing that all on your own, yes, you're saving money, but you are using up a lot of time. And if you're like me and the details drag you down, even worse than using up your time, you're using up your mental energy. And it's hard though, because you can't quantify things like time and mental energy. I can't say, okay, my mental energy is worth $100 an hour. So if it's going to cost me $100, it needs to save me, an hour's worth of mentally draining work. There's not really a formula that you can use. And so that's one reason why I think that we resist this thought. And so the easiest way to look at it is to realize that you're exchanging money for time and energy, and you can always earn back more money. You cannot earn back your time. So that's the easiest way for me to look at it. And I know it's scary. Hiring my virtual assistant was, up to that point, one of the scariest decisions I made in my career, but she has saved me so much mental energy. And there are things that I just would have given up doing because they felt so draining that she keeps running for me. And I so appreciate that. So here are some examples of things that you might want to outsource. So we already talked about the editing and cover design. I think formatting for sure could fall into there. It can be one of those just draining things. Yes, technically we can all learn how to format our books, but it might not be the best use of our energy for most of us to do that. There are places where you can find fairly cheap help as well. And so don't feel like you need to either do it all yourself or put somebody on a 40-hour-a-week salary and hire a full-time employee. There are tons of areas in between there that are going to be way less scary. And that's what I recommend. I recommend that when it's time for you to look for help in your business, that you find somebody and just hire them to help you work on like 1 or 2 projects, even if it's just for an hour or two. Sites like Upwork or Fiverr can help you match with the right person. And then if you're a good fit, you can keep working with that person. And the other thing with outsourcing is don't get into the trap that like one person's going to do everything for you. I outsource a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So I have one person who helps me with my video and audio edits. I have another person who helps me with my lead pages, and I have another person who helps me with my bookkeeping. And then I have my virtual assistant who does a lot of work for me, but she doesn't touch those other ones that I just mentioned. And so don't think that you need to find like the one person who knows how to do all of these things. Just find somebody who's really good at this one area that you need help with. And if you're also, going back to this fear of spending money, another way you can look at it, if this is helpful for you, is you're being a blessing to somebody else, right? You are helping to support somebody else. A lot of the people who are doing author services are authors themselves. So when you hire somebody who's another writer to do your book formatting, not only are you saving yourself a bunch of time and hassle, but you're supporting another indie author by giving them some money to do something that comes naturally and easily to them. So that's another way to look at it if you struggle in this area. It's also totally okay to think about what parts of your non-writing life can you outsource. So one incentive that I gave myself last year is that for every 1,000 words I wrote in a month, I paid myself $1 into a special fund. And at the end of the month, I would hire someone to come and do a deep cleaning of the house. It wasn't huge in terms of, a monetary investment, and it saved so much mental energy to just know once a month someone was going to come in and help do that. And it was a little bit fun for me because it felt like I was rewarding myself for working hard. And another way to look at it is, supporting somebody else. I found another homeschool mom in my community, and I know that the fact that she's coming over once a month, not only is it blessing me, but it's helping her and her family out financially too. So in addition to thinking of things that you can outsource in your own writing business, there might just be some things that you can outsource in your life that are going to save you a little bit of time and energy, so that you can either devote that time and energy to writing or just feel more relaxed, right? So it's not as if she comes and cleans the house for 2 hours and I make sure that during those 2 hours, I'm writing 2 hours more than I would if I were the one cleaning the house, right? Sometimes it's just having that extra energy and not having to worry about it that makes the biggest difference.